Today on the channel, we continue talking the best of 2023. And today on the channel, we're talking my top 10 favorite wrestling retro figures of 2023.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Here, and welcome back to the channel for another year-end best of countdown video. In today's video, we're counting down my top 10 retro wrestling figures of 2023. And when I say retro wrestling figures, I'm talking the Epic Toys, I'm talking the Mattels, I'm talking the Grapplers and Gimmicks, the Rush Collectibles, the Zombie Sailors, and everybody else under the sun that is making retro Hasbro-inspired figures. I'm not going to throw in all the Superstars and the Remco styles, things like that. Keeping it to the Hasbro base here for this top 10. And of course, this top 10 list can be like all the other ones on the channel. We're going to start at number 10, work our way to number 1. Of course, this is my list, so it can't be wrong. It can't. It's my list. So this is my list. Make sure you put your list in the comments down below. Make sure you put them in order. Make sure they make sense, I guess, at the end of the day. I don't know. But you know the rules. Make sure you follow them. There you go. That's the best I can say right there. We're going to start off at number 10 as we usually do here. And quite the year for the retro wrestling figures, as we do know. I was about a year ago on the channel. I said, you know, there's a lot of companies. I don't know if they're all going to make it. Well, we saw Rush Collectibles have dipped out after the French Angel here. They're going to be out of the wrestling stuff. What was it? CWF, I think, was the company making it over in like Germany or something. We're going to make retro style figures. That didn't happen. We saw Cella Toys. They went away. Epic Toys kind of from the ashes of that one. But we've seen some new ones, the figure collections of the world as well. So we'll see where it goes, ebbs and flows. But I said at least 2 of them would fall out, and guess what? I was right. I'm like a young Nostradamus, like a young Rob Halford and the Priest Boys writing the Nostradamus album many years ago. Very similar situation, of course. But I wanted to do in this at the top right here, I wanted to have one honorable mention. One honorable mention. I don't do this very often. However, there was a set that came out very end of this year that knocked this guy off my list. He was going to be number 10. Unfortunately, not number 10 anymore. But we're going way back to Cella Toys. And I believe this might have been one of the last Cella Toy figures that were released. So as an honorable mention, wanted to throw him up there. Got old Big Daddy. Now, Big Daddy, of course, big over in England, big in Europe. Not so much America, but a very cool figure for what it is. I love a big figure, a giant figure. An individual mold here for Big Daddy. Just an all-around good-looking figure. You got the nice soft goods vest. You had the hat. Just a pretty cool figure, and we unboxed this very early on in 2023, and I wanted to give it a special shout-out because it just got bumped off the number 10 spot for me, but that's a cool one here. Cella Toys, Big Daddy. But now, let's get into the countdown. Let's start it off at number 10. We begin the countdown at number 10, and number 10 we go to the former Cella Toys. That's where it originally started. It finished under the Epic Toys umbrella, and this was one of those figures we had a long wait for, and that's kind of been the name for a lot of these retro figures. Hopefully in 2024, some of that waiting game is slowed down a little bit, because you know Tom Petty, he always says the waiting's the hardest part, and he's exactly right. But coming in at number 10 is one I wish we had back in the Hasbro days, but man, we got it here now, and it looks pretty good. It is Haku. Perfect for your Zombie Sailor Andre the Giant, or of course your Hasbro Andre the Giant. Haku finally getting his time to shine, and would love to see more Haku figures in other toy lines as well, hopefully in 2024. But a very good Haku. You know who this is. Comes with the crown, beautiful purple color. It is just a Haku you can set your watch to. Very simple, but that's part of the simplicity. That's part of makes it good. Is Haku was a bit of a simple wrestler. He was all about getting it done in the ring. The crown gave him a little extra pizzazz, but at the end of the day, it is Haku, and he is coming in at number 10 in my top 10 countdown. We've arrived at the number 9 spot, and a lot of the number 9 stuff really was just like the number 10 stuff, as we're once again going back to Epic Toys formerly Cella Toys when this was first announced. Well, the long pre-order, the long wait is over, and we finally got Rhythm and Blues Greg the Hammer Valentine. What a year for Greg Valentine in the action figure game, but we did finally get the Epic Toys version here, and I will say this one pairs way better with the original Hasbro Honky Tonk Man than the actual Mattel one does. And the Mattel is supposed to be a little bit more Hasbro inspired than some. They still have the actions, things like that. But Cella Toys, now Epic Toys, knocked it out of the park with this Greg the Hammer Valentine. A beautiful guitar that doesn't break apart. We're here for that. But one that's a little bit slimmer and more in style with the Honky Tonk Man it matches to. And after all these years later, we're finally getting Rhythm and Blues in a scale where they belong together. Man, I'm here for that, especially if you're a kid like me. Way back in the day, collecting your Hasbros, seeing the advertisement for Greg Valentine saying, what is going on? Why can't I find him? And just having to chalk it up to just could never find him in the stores until you get internet many years later and you find out the whole backstory there. It is kind of nice to come full circle here with that Hasbro Honky Tonk Man with this Epic Toys Greg the Hammer Valentine. And that's why he's coming in at number 9. We've arrived at the number 8 spot here in the top 10 retro countdown here, and some may say we're feeling great at number 8, but number 8 comes to us from the Grapplers and Gimmicks line. We go to one Mabel. Oh my goodness, we're completing that orange card collection is what we're doing, and we did do that this year, of course, finally. But man, something special about this Mabel. You guys know me, I love big figures, and this is a big figure. I guess the biggest figure in the retro game this year. It's cool to get Men on a Mission. Those figures are going to be great once we complete them off as well. But man, there's something about this Mabel. It gives you a little bit of the Yokozuna vibes, of course, as we do know that was the big man style from Hasbro. But there's a lot to like about this. I know some people wanted the gold color. It didn't bother me as much as it did some others out there. But I love this Mabel figure. A very, very good one. And you know I love a big figure. And that's why old Mabel here coming in at number 8. Next up, we go to Zombie Sailor Toys and the Heels and Faces line for the first time, but not last time in this very countdown. But today we go to an orange card figure that never was, but here we got in 2023. He, of course, was a Comic-Con exclusive for the Zombie Sailor. He was Bastion Booger, and I don't know if anybody would ever claim to say, man, I loved Bastion Booger, but one of those deep-cut, crazy characters you just never hear about, you don't get anything about. Obviously, Jack's Classic Superstars. Shout out to old Jack's Classic Superstars, and the Jack's Classic Superstars book coming out very soon. But to get a Bastion Booger all these years later is pretty cool. Now, we would love to have a Mattel version in the Legends line. I think that'd be awesome as well. But we'll take what we can get at this point. And I love a deep-cut character. Maybe didn't really resonate with the fan base. Like I said, nobody's favorite wrestler. But an iconic, very cool look to him. There's no doubt about it. One that translates very well into the retro-style wrestling figure line. And like I said, again, this was an orange card that never happened. But in 2023, we finally got him. So Zombie Sailors, Heels and Faces, Bastion Booger, coming in at number 7. To the number 6 spot in our countdown, and for the first time here we go to Mattel, and Mattel, kind of the ones that have carried the torch from Hasbro. Of course, one big company to another big company making the retro style figures, and I think most of the people that are hardcore into retro style figures would not even put Mattel at the top of the game. Everybody has their favorites, but it's a wild thing where they're at the top of the Ultimates, the Elite lines, things like that. But retros, a lot of people say, man, too cartoony. They just don't like the character selection, maybe. I don't know what it is. But it's interesting to see the heavy hitter company Mattel not to be looked at as fond as maybe some of the third-party smaller companies out there. But that is good because we know competition raises all the ships out there. Very excited to see what Mattel can do with the retro line in, of course, 2024. We hear there's a new ring coming out. That was an announcement we just got recently. So we'll see where it ends up going here. But I know where number 6 is going. It's going to, in my opinion, the greatest big man wrestler of all time. A guy we needed one of these figures from. So happy we got it in 2023. We're going to the band Big Van Vader. It's truly Vader time here in this countdown. A classic looking Vader. I remember when I first saw this figure, I was so concerned it was a jumper. Thankfully, it is not a jumper. That would be the absolute worst if Vader was a jumper. But a good size to it, a good look to it, and I just close my eyes and imagine what it would have been like as a little kid having this in my Hasbro collection. oh, business would have picked up overnight. And I think of the big feuds he would have had, of course, with the Hulk Hogans and the Ultimate Warriors of the world, even the Macho Man Randy Savages. A lot of good playing could have been done back then. But I guess now a lot of good playing can be done here in 2023 and into 2024 with Big Van Vader Mattel Retro coming in at number 6. We've hit the halfway point. You got your list together. Make sure you put it in the comments down below. But number 5, once again, we go to Heels and Faces line, of course, from Zombie Sailor Toys. And we go to a figure that took forever, it felt like, to get on the, I guess not store pegs, I guess get our pre-order in for. And this is a character, a guy that has no shortages of figures. Of course, many figures in 2023. Have to imagine more figures to come in 2024. But coming in at number 5, Heels and Faces, Zombie Sailor Toys, Danhausen. Danhausen with cape, all cape season running strong. Of course, face paint, you know I'm a sucker for that. You get his bag of money as well. A lot to like about this Danhausen. He came with a jar of teeth as well. There's just a lot going on. Now, some people did have some issues with the cape attaching to the tattoos and ripping the tattoos off. Very thankful for me, I did not have that issue, and I try to keep that cape off of the tattoo so it doesn't happen. But some people did have some issues with this one. But a very cool first Zombie Sailor Danhausen figure, and I guess probably the last Zombie Sailor Danhausen figure. And was this the first Danhausen? I think it might have been, unless Major Bendy's beat him to the punch. I don't think they did, though. So, very cool, very nostalgic for whatever Danhausen is nostalgic-wise. But a very cool first attempt at Danhausen, and possibly, like I said, last attempt. But Danhausen coming in at number 5 in the top 10 list. We arrived at the number 4 spot in the countdown right here, and all I can say is, what about me? What about Raven? As Raven is number 4 from Zombie Sailor Toys, Heels and Faces line here. And Raven, you guys know me, I'm a big ECW guy back in the day, so Raven, a hit I wanted to be played. Now, I did have a little bit of issue with my leg being a little bit looser than I would have liked it to be, but this is an interesting one, and this one almost speaks to the evolution of the retro style figures, as you got soft goods attached to this one here. You got new first in the line, first in a time articulation in retro figures. So there's a lot of specialness to this Raven figure, and there is no doubt. If you're familiar with Raven, you know who this is. They even got the trademark for the Ministry shirt going on there, so there's a lot to like about this Raven figure. It just really makes me want a Tommy Dreamer to match this one, and hopefully Zombie Sailor can get that done. Hopefully that's a possibility in 2024 or beyond, most likely. But coming in at number 4, going to be Raven from the Heels and Faces Zombie Sailor Toys line. We're down to the final 3 here, and the number 3 selection in my top 10 best of 2023. Once again, we go to Zombie Sailor Toys and the Heels and Faces line. Who are we talking about? Well, we're going to Andre the Giant, but we're going Blackstrap Andre the Giant, and this is kind of a bit of a pick-em here. Do you prefer the blue strap or the black strap? Me, I always prefer Blackstrap. Now, I do appreciate Zombie Sailor releasing both of those and giving us different heads for each Andre. Make them feel as different as possible, because just a strap color change and that's it would have been pretty lame if you ask me. But I like that he gave us that, and the cool thing is you can switch the heads back and forth. Choose your own Andre the Giant head adventure. Thought that was a really cool one. But of course, Andre, an all-time classic wrestler. We all know about Andre the Giant, and Andre had one of the best Hasbros back in the day as well. A lot of time spent playing with that Andre the Giant. So some people said, do we really need an Andre the Giant? We have that old Hasbro. Well, we take that business step back. Andre makes money. That old Hasbro, not everybody had that in their collection. A little bit harder to get. So I think it was the perfect storm, the perfect mix to get us this Andre the Giant in 2023. And you can't fault you if you put the blue one in this spot either. It really just comes down to what you like. And who knows, maybe you like both Andres so much, both of them were in your top 10. Choose your own adventure. It's your list at the end of the day. But this Andre, very, very good, very iconic. You know who it is. There's no denying it's Andre the Giant. One of the biggest, best performers of all time. One guy that transcends wrestling at the end of the day into movies and pop culture, you name it. So don't need to sit here and chat about Andre all day, but a fabulous figure from Zombie Sailor and the Heels and Faces. That's why Andre the Giant's coming in at number 3. Getting down to the end of it, we're at the number 2 selection here, and talk about coming in right at the end of the year. It would have been interesting if I would have received this a week later, where this list would have went. I think you guys can do the math and see where that went. But these two, and yes, we're calling 2 in this one here, swung into number 2 out of nowhere, as I thought they looked cool, but I didn't know how cool until I got them unboxed and here at the table. But coming in at number 2 is going to be from Figure Collections, the Headbangers. And you can't really put these guys separate. It's kind of the point of bringing them together equals one, really, at the end of the day. But the Headbangers, an amazing, amazing 2-pack here. I love the feel of the packaging, love the look of the packaging, love the feel of the figures, love the looks of the figures. Mosh and Thrasher riding again here, and really the last hurrah of tag teams in the WWF, WWE time frame in a lot of ways. As we did in the video, we talked about the LOD, the Godwins. There was a lot going on at that time, but there's just something special with these Headbangers. It's one of those ones I didn't know I needed them until they came through. Very, very cool. Two of the most iconic bone crunchers back in the day. Hopefully we get some elites in 2024. We'll see what happens there. But these two are way better than I ever expected them to be. So good, in fact, they jumped all the way to number 2 on my top 10 year-end list. Just fabulous work. Must-have figures right here, if you ask me. So Figure Collections, Headbangers, coming in at number 2, which leaves only one, like a young Highlander. Who's it going to be? We've reached the number 1 spot in the Best of 2023 Retro Figure Wrestling Countdown. Of course, as usual, put your list in the comments down below. Make sure you put them in order. That's the hard part. That is the fun part. But coming in at number 1 was one that I knew was going to be good. And I even had some issues with this one in the review. But the more I look at it, the more I spend time with it, man, it's tough to say this isn't the best retro figure of 2023 here. What are we talking about? Well, we're going to Zombie Sailor. We're going to Heels and Faces line once again. And we're going to Bruiser Brody, a mystical, magical, mythical figure in wrestling history. Of course, when he was running hard, running fast, running free like a young Rio, even after his passing, there's a big legend around Bruiser Brody. And I've been a big part of that legend, around that legend, hearing stories, talked about the Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff I've been to over the years, meeting his wife, all that kind of stuff. So a special performer, no doubt about it. Really a guy that was truly ahead of his time. And it's always kind of one of those great what-if stories where he would have went if he didn't get passed away in that tragic scene, I guess we'll call it there. But this one, absolutely a game changer here. Of course, you did get a soft good? Yeah, soft good chain. No, we did get a chain with him, of course, a great accessory. His vest, of course, fur vest, fur boots, fur vest only on a select few figures. Keep track of that. But a beautiful version of Bruiser Brody. Great head sculpt on this one. Beautiful blade scars in his forehead. We talked about the Power Town one in the past. Had some issues with that one. I still ended up loving that figure just as much. But I like the blade scars, how they were done on this figure over the Power Town one if I had to choose my Bruiser Brody blade scars. Just a great figure. Now, I did talk about some of the issues I had. I have staining from this vest. That is unfortunate. Others have had that too. But even with all that, this is such a good figure. I also forgot to mention the pose. A lot of these retro figures, you really like the figure, especially you like it even more if he has a great pose and you can play with him as a kid. But this one is one of the iconic positions, of course, of retro wrestling figures from back in the day and today as well. Just a figure that plays a lot of those hits. It's not perfect, and rarely do we get a perfect figure, but man, out of all the retro stuff, I lined them all up, I sat with them, I said, here's my list. This one went to the top right away. It's just one I look at every single day when I sit on my couch, and I just can't look past this Bruiser Brody, how cool this is. Even with a little bit of staining, still made the number 1 spot in my top 10 countdown. So there it is, my top 10 retro figures of 2023. Like I said earlier, get your list together, put it in the comments down below. Of course, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and my other YouTube channel, as we got a ton of best of countdown videos to come. Make sure you're ready for all those, make sure you're checking those out, and don't forget about Patreon for early access to every video from both YouTube channels. They all go up over there early on the Patreon. Of course, Patreon, the best way to support this very YouTube channel. You can also support the channel over at ProWrestlingTees.com, search Kyle Peterson, and don't forget social media, SirPaul64 on the X, the _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, and on Instagram. So for the top 10 retro wrestling figures of 2023, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.